Lost everything. 6 months later, an unexpected Nanny revealed amazing life-changing truths. Sarah Thompson squeezed her eyes shut, fighting back the lump in her throat as she stared at the eviction notice pinned to her front door. Every time the children ran through the living room, their laughter felt like a cruel reminder of her dwindling hope. Once a proud employee at the local manufacturing plant, she had lost everything in the relentless tide of economic downturn. The weight of unpaid bills loomed over her like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. Amidst the chaos, her friend Lisa reached out, suggesting a community bake sale to raise funds. It was a wonderful gesture, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of judgment from those who whispered as they passed her on the street. What is wrong with her? Can't she take care of her kids? Those words stung more than the financial burden. She felt like a single parent struggling to hold onto her dignity, her identity slipping like sand through her fingers. Yet, there was a flicker of hope. She hired Annabelle, the elderly widow with a sparkle in her eyes, and stories that danced like fireflies. The moment they met, Sarah felt a strange sense of calm. As she and Annabelle folded laundry side by side, the fabric seemed to soak up their laughter. Annabelle spoke of her days in the military, sharing lessons stitched into her heart, tales of resilience against all odds. You keep fighting, Sarah. Dignity is not a job. It's how you face the world, she said one evening, as the sun languidly dipped behind the trees. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Annabelle's wisdom seeped into the cracks of Sarah's spirit, a flicker of determination ignited. Yet, doubt loomed like a shadow every time anyone mentioned a job opportunity. How could I go back? I have kids to care for. She wept quietly one night, heart heavy with the weight of societal expectations. But in the midst of everything, she received a call that could turn her life around, a job interview at the very plant that had let her go. Excitement rushed through her, yet anxiety followed closely, squeezing her stomach tight. Just as she began to believe again, she overheard neighbors discussing her struggles. She should be ashamed, they whispered, shaking their heads in judgment. That dagger pierced her heart, sparking insecurities leading to paralyzing self-doubt. Yet, Annabelle was relentless. You can rise above this, Sarah. Remember, it's about who you are, not what you do. Suddenly, at that crossroads of fear and hope, Sarah took a deep breath. Could she brave the tempest outside and step into the world again? As she prepared for her interview, the echoes of whispered doubt lingered in her ears, but a growing resolve bloomed within. Just as she was about to grasp that chance, a sudden, unexpected twist left her questioning everything. In that quiet moment, Sarah knew her journey of self-acceptance was about to unfold, and the battle for her family's future had just begun. What awaited her on the other side of that door? The morning light streamed through the kitchen window as Sarah fumbled through her closet. Stacks of clothes lay strewn about, remnants of a life that felt distant and unreachable. Her eyes scanned for anything that might restore her confidence as she prepared for the daunting job interview. The sense of urgency pulsed through her veins, pushing aside the whispers of doubt lingering at the edges of her mind. With a deep breath, she settled on a simple navy blouse that once made her feel empowered. As she slipped it on, memories rushed back, days spent juggling deadlines and feeling proud of her contribution. Still, the anxiety gnawed at her, a relentless companion. Would she walk back into the plant as the woman who had lost everything? Or would she reclaim a piece of her former self? In that moment, the sound of giggles burst through the hallway, shattering her concentration. The children were playing, oblivious to the storm brewing inside their mother. Their laughter wrapped around her like a warm blanket, soothing away the jagged edges of her worry. She smiled, allowing their joy to seep into her heart as she called them into the kitchen. "Okay, team. Who is ready for breakfast?" she shouted playfully, stirring up a light-hearted atmosphere. Their tiny faces lit up, and she felt a wave of love wash over her. For them, she would step into the world again. After breakfast, as she ushered the kids to the living room for some cartoons, Sarah began to gather necessary items: a notepad, a pen, a half-eaten granola bar for a quick snack on the way. Annabelle entered, a determined gleam in her eye. "You look ready, Sarah. Remember, go in with your head held high. Don't let them see the doubt." With a final glance in the mirror, Sarah tried to believe those words. She had faced adversity before. She could do it again. The car ride to the plant felt like a roller coaster pulling up before the first drop, excitement accompanied by a deep fear. "Just breathe," she whispered to herself, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Upon arriving, the plant loomed like a titan, a reminder of better days and painful memories. As she walked toward the entrance, she noticed a group of employees gathered outside, their laughter mingling with the sounds of busy machinery. The gunmetal gray of their uniforms felt foreign yet familiar, igniting a whirlwind of emotions. As she entered the building, her pulse quickened. The same reception area, the same smells of oil and metal lingered in the air, bringing with them a flood of nostalgia. But instead of fear, she felt a sense of purpose. "This is your moment," she thought, gripping the strap of her bag as if it were an anchor. When she stepped into the interview room, her heart raced. The panel of interviewers greeted her with warm smiles. Their kindness didn't ease her nerves, but did help her feel at home. The questions began, and Sarah's responses flowed like water from a tap, each word fueling her confidence. She spoke of resilience, adaptability, and the strength of her family that kept her grounded. Yet, just as she was starting to envision a future again, the panel posed a question she hadn't anticipated. "Can you tell us how you've handled your recent life struggles?" The atmosphere shifted, the warmth replaced by an unyielding scrutiny. She could either open up or retreat behind a wall. With a shaky breath, she chose honesty. Just then, the door creaked open. Annabelle stood at the threshold, her eyes shining with encouragement and defiance against judgment. Sarah's heart swelled. In that moment, she realized she was not just fighting for a job. She was claiming her place in a world that too often tried to diminish her worth. Would vulnerability become her strength? Would this be the moment that truly defined her path forward? The silence stretched, holding its breath as Sarah prepared for her answer. What would she say next? The weight of the room felt crushing, yet Sarah recognized the opportunity nestled within the silence. It was as if the air shimmered with potential, urging her to speak. She could feel the eyes of the interview panel on her, each gaze a reminder of what was at stake. Her mind raced, but slowly, clarity emerged. "I've learned that hardships, no matter how heavy they feel, can teach us valuable lessons," she began, her voice steadying with each word. "Losing my job meant losing my identity for a while. But through that journey, I discovered the definition of resilience. I've learned to embrace the unpredictability of life." Her honesty felt freeing, the words flowing easier now. She spoke about her struggles, but also about how she had fought back. The late-night hours spent studying job listings, the relentless hope that flickered even in her darkest moments, and the support of her children and Annabelle. Each moment of vulnerability allowed the room to soften. The interviewers nodded, their expressions shifting to admiration. Sarah could feel their understanding penetrate the barrier she had once felt surrounding her. It was clear they were no longer seeing her as just another candidate. They were recognizing the woman behind the experience. When she finished, the panel exchanged glances, and for a heartbeat, Sarah felt her breath catch in her throat. Had she said too much? Was she too raw for a corporate setting? But then she saw Annabelle's encouraging smile from the doorway, and it steadied her. "Thank you for sharing so openly, Sarah. It's clear you have a lot to offer," one of the interviewers said, his voice warm, and she felt a shot of hope surge through her. Maybe this was her moment, but doubt still crept along the edges. The interview wrapped up, and as Sarah stepped out into the hallway, tears threatened to spill over. She had poured parts of her soul onto that table. What if it still wasn't enough? Her thoughts drowned in a whirlwind until she felt a small hand grasp hers. Annabelle stood by her side, beaming with pride. "You were incredible. They really connected with you." "Did you really think so?" Sarah asked, half laughing, half gasping as the weight of what she had just shared pressed lightly on her chest. "Absolutely. You have this strength in you. It shines through even when you doubt it." They saw it too. The two women walked toward the exit, the sunlight spilling over them like a promise of new beginnings. Yet that little voice of uncertainty still whispered in her ear. Even though the initial hurdle of the interview was over, what if she didn't get the job? The exhilaration she felt was mixed with fear, balancing like a tightrope as they stepped outside. The welcoming air flooded Sarah's lungs. The day was bright and vibrant, yet her heart still felt heavy, uncertain about what was next. I just want to know I made a good impression," Sarah admitted. Annabelle paused and turned to her. "You did more than that. You reminded them, and yourself, who you really are. Whatever happens, you showed that you're stronger than your struggles." But the uncertainty hung in the air like an unresolved question. Were her struggles truly behind her, or was this just the beginning of another challenge? As Sarah and Annabelle made their way to the car, a sense of potential enveloped them. What would tomorrow bring? Would her journey culminate in success, or would she have to dig deeper than ever before? The answer loomed ahead, just out of reach. As the car pulled away from the curb, Sarah watched the panels building fade into the distance. The cityscape twisted and turned outside her window, a blur of movement that matched the swirl of thoughts in her mind. Annabelle kept glancing at her, the excitement still alight in her eyes, but Sarah wrestled with an internal battle. What if this was just a fleeting moment of hope? Want to grab some coffee? Or maybe ice cream? Annabelle suggested, her voice bright. "Yes," Sarah replied, but it was more a reflex than a decision. Her stomach churned with a combination of nerves and anticipation. As they pulled into the small cafe, a fresh wave of anxiety washed over her. The space smelled sweet and warm, but it felt like another reminder of what was at stake. She tried to shake it off and focused instead on the cheerful chatter around them. While they waited in line, Sarah found herself peering out the window at the pedestrians passing by. Each face was a reflection of their own story, a reminder that everyone had battles to fight. She pinned her hopes on the thought that somehow her story was about to take a turn for the better. Just as they received their drinks, her phone buzzed. Fumbling through her purse, she caught a glimpse of an unread email notification. Her heart skipped as she swiped to open it. "You've got to be kidding me," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper when she realized it was an email from the company where she had just interviewed. "What is up?" Annabelle asked as she took a sip from her cup, her eyes darting to Sarah's phone. It's from them." A knot of tension shifted in Sarah's stomach. The email was so much more than just a notification. It was the answer to all her recent thoughts. Swallowing hard, she hesitated before tracking her eyes over each carefully typed word, her pulse quickening with anticipation. Finally, she read it aloud. "Thank you for your time. We were impressed. However, we have decided to move forward with another candidate." Each word felt like a shove, knocking the wind from her. The silence between them seemed to stretch into infinity. Annabelle's bright face fell, and her eyes widened as she took in Sarah's expression. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I really thought you nailed it." Me too, Sarah whispered, the bitter aftertaste of rejection settling heavily in her chest. She could feel Annabelle's comforting presence, but it was overshadowed by the crushing weight of disappointment. I know this stings. But remember what you told them. This doesn't define you, Annabelle insisted, reaching out to squeeze her friend's hand. But what did it define? Sarah wanted to scream. The deeper truth was that she felt more lost than ever. Just when she thought she had taken steps forward, she felt as if she had fallen back, dragging her feet through mud and uncertainty. As they left the cafe, Sarah replayed the panel's kind words in her mind. Maybe they were mere consolation. Had she truly connected with them? Or had she simply laid bare her struggles for a moment as sympathy? Let us get out of here for a bit, Annabelle said decisively, as though she sensed Sarah's internal storm. A walk in the park. You know, clear our heads? Sarah nodded, though her heart still felt laden. The park was only a few blocks away, and as they walked, her mind buzzed with fragments of despair. It felt like every part of her journey had just crumbled. Just as they entered the park, the sunlight nudged at the corners of her heart, and she wondered how she would gather the strength to keep moving forward. Amidst the scattered whispers of nature and laughter of children nearby, Sarah caught a glimpse of a mother struggling with a stroller, her frown deepening as her child squirmed. A sudden fire ignited in Sarah a surge of empathy that demanded action. Was this her next step? Could she find purpose in caring for others again? Just as that thought settled, she noticed a flyer taped to a nearby bulletin board. Nanny needed. It read. A rush of possibility flooded her. Was it a sign, or just a desperate thought? What do you think? Sarah asked Annabelle, her heart racing with an unexpected blend of hope and dread. But what she didn't expect was that this small moment might just lead her down a path of transformation she never saw coming. Sarah stared at the flyer, her mind racing. Nanny needed. The words jumped off the paper, the letters bold and beckoning. She chewed on her lower lip, glancing over at Annabelle. The hope that had flickered inside her was slowly igniting into something warmer. Do you think I should? She asked, uncertainty lacing her voice. Annabelle's eyes sparkled with encouragement. Why not? It could be just what you need. Plus, kids are amazing. They see the world differently, you know? Maybe being around them will help you find a bit of joy again. Taking a deep breath, Sarah let the thought settle. She hadn't expected to feel anything like excitement today, yet here it was, creeping in. A gentle tug, a tugging at the frayed edges of her spirit. I guess reaching out wouldn't hurt, she said slowly. Exactly. Just think of it as putting your feelers out. You never know what could happen. Annabelle grinned, and in that moment, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. Over the next few days, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the brink of something new. She went home, polished her resume, and sent out a simple email inquiring about the position. The response came swiftly. A brief but encouraging message inviting her to meet the family. On the day of the meeting, Sarah dressed carefully in a soft, light sweater and a pair of jeans that she hoped made her feel approachable. The morning sun threatened to break through the gray clouds, its rays peeking out as if to cheer her on. She found herself standing outside a charming brick house, the kind that felt warm and alive. As she rang the doorbell, a flurry of uncertainty rushed through her. What would she even say? Would they see her as just someone seeking solace by caring for their kids? The door swung open, revealing a woman with a warm smile. You must be Sarah. Come in. Her voice was inviting, and Sarah felt some of her tension dissipate as she stepped inside, greeted by fresh flowers on the table, and the comforting sounds of laughter echoing from another room. I'm Kendra, by the way, the woman introduced, leading her toward the living space. And you'll be meeting my little one soon. When they arrived, Sarah met a whirlwind of energy. Daisy, with twinkling eyes and unkempt curls, immediately ran up to her, while her younger brother, Max, kept peeking shyly from behind Kendra's legs. Over the next hour, Sarah interacted with the kids, and to her surprise, their laughter echoed like music played back in her mind, a blissful reminder of the joy she had almost forgotten. Kendra watched with a smile as Daisy pretended to be a pirate, transforming the living room into a ship. Max finally warmed up to Sarah, sticking his hand out for a high five. "Arr, matey!" Sarah exclaimed, playing along and letting herself get lost in their world, if only for a moment. The childlike innocence wrapped around her heart like a warm hug, and her own worries began to seem further away. After their fun, Kendra settled down with Sarah for a chat. "You know, I can sense a spark in you," she said thoughtfully. "We could really use someone cheerful and gentle around here. It seems like you connect well with the kids." "But I don't know," Sarah hesitated, thinking of the weight of rejection that still lingered. "I've been feeling quite lost. What if I can't do this?" "Every great journey starts with a single step," Kendra replied. "And sometimes, helping others can help us find ourselves again." The words struck a chord deep within Sarah. Here was someone who saw potential in her, despite the messiness of her life. As Sarah stepped back into the daylight, she felt strangely light. She had made a choice today that could change everything. But then again, what if the past still lingered around the corner, whispering doubts into her ear? Feeling a flutter of apprehension along with excitement, she knew one thing for certain. She wasn't just looking for a job. She was looking for herself. Could this chance at becoming a Nanny lead her down the right path, or would old fears bubble back to the surface, haunting her once more? The following days unfolded in a blur of warmth and laughter for Sarah. As she settled into her role as the nanny for Daisy and Max, something inside her began to shift. Each morning, she arrived at the charming brick house filled with anticipation. The kids greeted her with squeals of joy, and as the doors opened to a world filled with giggles and crayons, the dark clouds that had shadowed her for too long began to recede. One afternoon, while they were creating colorful crafts in the dining room, Daisy looked up and asked, "Sarah, do you ever get sad?" The innocent question hung in the air, and for a moment, Sarah's heart tightened. But instead of recoiling, she knelt beside the small girl, gathering her thoughts. "Sometimes we all get a little sad, but we have to find things that make us happy," she replied, choosing her words carefully. "Like making art or playing games." Daisy tilted her head, considering this. "So you can be happy again, like when we did the treasure hunt?" "Exactly," Sarah said, her heart swelling. "Just like that." As the days turned into weeks, Sarah found herself immersed in the bright colors of childhood. Whether they were building pillow forts or baking cookies, she felt parts of herself resurfacing, like flowers breaking through winter's frost. She made silly faces in the mirror, played songs that danced in her heart, and embraced the joy that these small moments brought. Slowly, she was rediscovering not just the childlike wonder in Daisy and Max, but also within herself. But even as she wore a smile, remnants of doubt still lingered in the back of her mind, ready to surface at any moment. Late one night, after tucking the children into bed and stealing a moment for herself with a cup of chamomile tea, Sarah found herself staring out of the kitchen window, her reflection blurred against the darkness. What if this happiness was just a fleeting dream? What if everything fell apart again? Kendra must have sensed her unease. The next day, as they sat together at the kitchen table, she placed a hand on Sarah's. "You know," Kendra began softly, "it's brave to open yourself up to the world again. You're doing an amazing job here. But what if I can't always be this happy?" Sarah's voice trembled slightly, the fear bubbling to the surface finally escaping her lips. "What if I mess everything up?" Kendra smiled gently, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Happiness won't always be perfect. Sometimes it's messy, just like being a parent. But what matters is that you try. You're already doing a wonderful job. Just look at how the kids light up when you're around." As she looked into Kendra's encouraging gaze, a weight lifted off Sarah's shoulders. Could it be true? Was she really doing okay just by being present? Perhaps her journey was more about the small victories than the grand illusions of perfection. That weekend, Kendra arranged a trip to the park for the children, inviting Sarah along. As they spread out a picnic blanket and watched the kids chase butterflies, a sudden feeling of contentment washed over her. Laughter spilled into the air, carrying bits of innocence and joy with it. She felt a part of something of a family, a community, a life she could embrace. Yet, lurking in the back of her mind, the nagging voice of her past whispered doubts. As numberless memories danced through her consciousness, regrets, mistakes, moments of ache, Sarah felt a prickling sense of unease. Would the past come crashing back uninvited, shattering this fragile happiness she had built? Just then, a loud crash sounded, pulling her back to the present. Max had toppled over a picnic basket, scattering sandwiches everywhere. Daisy burst into giggles, and Sarah couldn't help but join in, laughter bubbling up like sunlight breaking through the clouds. In that sweet moment, joy felt like a tangible thing. But as the afternoon slipped away and twilight began to wrap around them, the older, darker shadows in her heart beckoned once more. What awaited her in the shadows would put this newfound happiness to the ultimate test. Did she truly have the strength to face it? Or would the past return, tarnishing the brightness she had found? The days turned into weeks, and while sunlight poured in through the windows, it felt hollow on some of the darker mornings. Sarah continued to pour her heart into caring for Daisy and Max, but each morning she'd wake up with a tightness in her chest, a gnawing worry that something was waiting just around the corner. One Saturday, Kendra announced a family gathering at their house. "It's just a few friends and neighbors," she said, her enthusiasm bubbling. "I thought it would be a great way for you to meet everyone." As preparations unfolded, Sarah's stomach knotted. Meeting new people felt daunting. What if they asked about her history? Anxious thoughts raced through her mind like an endless loop. Would they see the shadows of her past creeping in, even as she tried to present her bright side? The night of the gathering, the house buzzed with laughter, the smell of baked goods tantalizing Sarah's senses. Still, she hung back, just out of the circle, cradling a drink in her hands. Watching Kendra float among guests, exchanging stories and smiles, made her heart swell. It was beautiful, but she felt like an outsider. Max bounded over, his energy infectious. "Sarah, come play with me." Daisy, holding a plate of cookies, chimed in, "You have to be the pirate, Sarah." Their joy filtered through her worries, and she finally relented, letting herself be swept into their world of imagination. It was exhilarating, pretending alongside the kids beneath strings of party lights. She was a pirate, making silly demands for treasure, and the echoes of laughter chased away her worries, if only for a while. But as the evening progressed, Sarah noticed Kendra speaking to a group more animatedly than she had seen all evening. She walked closer, curious about the commotion. To her surprise, a familiar face was among them, Ben, her ex-boyfriend from years ago. Panic trickled down her spine like ice water. What was he doing here? Her first instinct was to flee, to shield herself from the flood of memories. But she noticed Kendra glance over at her, and in that moment, Sarah knew she couldn't run. Bracing herself, she approached. The laughter stuttered slightly as eyes turned toward her. "Hey, Sarah." Ben's voice was warm, but inside her heart raced. She could see the shadows of their past lingering behind his smile. "It's been a while." "Yeah, it has," she replied, forcing a smile as her heart lurched. The conversation was awkward, the air thick with unspoken words. Ben shifted on his feet, clearly wanting to say more, but hesitant. There was history between them, a swirl of dreams unfulfilled and hurt lingering just under the surface. Kendra interjected, trying to ease the tension. Ben, meet Sarah, my wonderful Nanny. She has been doing such a great job with my little monsters. Oh, right. Ben's eyes flickered with recognition, and a hint of concern shadowed his expression. Good to see you're doing well. As he spoke, Sarah felt her walls begin to crack. His words pricked at her sense of stability, as if past hurts threatened to spill over. She was not the same girl he had known. She had fought so hard for the joy she felt now, and she refused to let memories dim her light. Things have changed, Ben, she said, her voice steady. I'm in a different place now, and I'm happy. A moment passed, and she could see the flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. Was he here just to reminisce or to bring back the past she was fighting to escape? As the night continued, Sarah felt the weight of their conversation linger. Each laugh and smile felt tinged with both hope and fear. She managed to push away doubt, finding comfort in Daisy and Max's laughter, their unfiltered joy. But still, a question loomed over her. Would her new happiness withstand the challenge of the past? Or had she opened a door that was better left closed? As they all settled into a cozy corner, surrounded by friends, Sarah sensed the shift in the atmosphere. Shadows still lingered what had Ben really come here to say. And could she face him without losing the foundation she had built around her new life? The night stretched on, and with it, her heart mirrored the uncertainty hanging in the air. What revelation awaited her in the place she tried so hard to escape? Daisy scampered off in pursuit of Max, their laughter resonating like music in the lively space. Sarah stood rooted for a moment, watching them. But her gaze soon drifted back to Ben, who was now deep in conversation with Kendra. She could see the warmth in Kendra's smile, and the familiarity that seemed to envelop them. Meanwhile, an unsettling tension coiled in her stomach. Why are you here, Ben? The question lingered in her mind, an unwanted ember that refused to extinguish. The last thing she wanted was to dredge up memories that should remain buried. The past was a minefield, and she wasn't sure she had the strength to navigate it anymore. Kendra approached her, interrupting her spiraling thoughts. Sarah, can you help me with the dessert table? Her eyes sparkled with excitement. A grateful breath escaped Sarah's lips. Sure, let us do it. She escaped the awkwardness, grabbing a tray of colorful cupcakes. Yet as she moved away, she couldn't help but glance back. Ben's presence loomed like a shadow, but she reminded herself that she wasn't that girl anymore. As she arranged cupcakes, Sarah tried to focus on the children running around, their innocence a balm for her swirling thoughts. Yet the unease still prickled at the edges of her mind. Kendra returned, carrying a platter of cookies. You okay? You seem off, she said, concern etched on her features. Just a little overwhelmed, I guess, Sarah replied, forcing a smile. I'm not used to so much everything. Kendra nodded, understanding in her eyes. Take your time. We're all here for you. At that moment, a shrill cry echoed through the room. It came from Daisy, who had just spilled a drink all over her favorite dress. I'm ruined, she wailed dramatically, eyes wide with shock and dismay. Max rushed to his sister's side. It's okay, Daisy. You look beautiful no matter what. The earnestness in his voice brought a smile to Sarah's face, lifting her spirits momentarily. But then Ben was there, kneeling beside Daisy, gently dabbing at the dress with a napkin. It's just a little spill. It's not the end of the world, trust me, he said softly, coaxing a timid smile from Daisy. Sarah's heart tightened watching him interact so effortlessly with the kids. A pang of something, was it jealousy? Longing? Washed over her. Did he still have the power to pull at her emotions like this? The moment passed quickly as Kendra swept Daisy to the bathroom to clean up. Sarah remained at the table, fixing her gaze on the other guests, laughing and chatting without a care in the world. Ben approached her. "You're really great with them, you know," he said, breaking the weight of silence that hung between them. "Thanks," she replied, fumbling with the edge of the tablecloth. "I've found my way here. I'm just trying to keep things together." "Something has changed since we last saw each other," he mused, his brow furrowing slightly. "You seem different." "Good different, I hope," Sarah shot back, trying to maintain the lightness of the moment, though the pressure of their history was suffocating. "Definitely good," he said, his eyes meeting hers with a sincerity that took her breath away. "But I'm curious about what has been happening in your life." The gentle curiosity in his voice chipped at her resolve. It was an opening, and suddenly, every inhibition she held onto felt dangerously close to slipping away. Would she let him back in even for a moment? Before she could respond, Max darted back into the room, his energy like a shot of espresso. "Can we play a game? Please?" he virtually begged, clutching Sarah's hand and pulling her toward the others. As Max tumbled back into the chaos of laughter and joy, Sarah stole a glance at Ben, his expression contemplative, searching. Could she ever share her truth with him? Would it break her newfound stability? The night pressed on, swirling with laughter, joy, and the unmistakable thrill of unresolved feelings. With every passing moment, the question echoed louder: would confronting her past with Ben lead her to something even better, or would it unravel everything she'd worked so hard to build? She couldn't tell. But as the evening began to wind down, she felt a stir within her, an unsteady hope mixed with an undeniable fear. And then, for the first time in months, Sarah considered the idea of maybe unlocking the door to the past just to see what truths awaited her on the other side. What would happen if she took that leap? Would she find healing or yet another heartbreak? The game Max suggested swept through the room like a burst of wild energy. Laughter erupted as kids dove into a whirlwind of make-believe, their imaginations transformed into heroes and creatures from distant lands. Sarah couldn't help but be swept up in the delight. She chased after the children, her worries melting away with every giggle. But even in this joyous moment, she felt the tug of Ben's presence buried in her thoughts. Whenever she glanced his way, he seemed to be watching her, his expression a mixture of curiosity and something deeper. It made her heart race in a way that was both exhilarating and terrifying. "Tag! You're it!" Daisy squealed, darting past her, laughter trailing behind her like a ribbon. Sarah couldn't keep the smile off her face. In the back of her mind, though, the tangle of emotions she felt around Ben loomed like a dark cloud. "Hey, Sarah," Kendra called, breaking through her reverie. "Want to help me with this game?" Before she could respond, Ben stepped in, grinning. "I'll help too. It's about time to even the teams." "All right then." Kendra clapped her hands. "We'll split everyone up. Sarah, you and Ben can lead one team." As they gathered the kids, Sarah felt the familiar knot in her stomach. Being close to Ben stirred the past, but she forced her mind to focus on the present. This was about the kids. They needed her. The game unfolded into a hilarious chaos of running and laughing, and slowly, Sarah began to feel more at ease. Every playful shove and shriek of excitement drew her a little further away from the weight of Ben's past in her life. She even cracked a few jokes, noticing that Ben laughed along, his eyes sparkling with genuine enjoyment. "Nice shot," Ben called as Max flung a soft ball toward his direction, barely missing him. Sarah caught the warmth in Ben's tone, and couldn't help but feel a flutter in her chest. What was he doing to her? She shook her head, trying to dispel the intense feelings brewing inside. As the game continued, exhaustion finally caught up with the children, and they began collapsing onto the floor, breathless and giggling. Kendra announced a break, and Sarah grabbed a cup of lemonade, her heart still pounding from the excitement. "Hey," Ben said, sidling up next to her, his voice low. "You were amazing out there. Thanks, she replied, trying to sound casual as she took a sip. You weren't too bad yourself. The silence stretched between them, heavy and charged. She felt the weight of their unresolved past. So how have you been? He finally asked, glancing at her with caution. Sarah hesitated. The question opened the floodgates. Did she want to let him in on her world? Pretty well. Life has a way of overhauling everything, you know? Ben looked genuinely interested. I'd love to hear about it, if you're okay with that. Just then, Daisy ran up, her cheeks flushed, excitement bubbling over. Can we have cake now, please? The pink one. Of course. Kendra laughed, ushering the kids toward the dessert table. It's a party, after all. Sarah's mind was still swirling. As they headed toward the table, her pulse raced. Would she have the courage to share her journey with Ben? There was still so much she held back, painful experiences, transformative moments. Did she want him to know the whole truth? Max tugged at her hand, breaking her concentration. Are you okay, Sarah? You seem a little lost. I'm good, buddy. Just thinking. She ruffled his hair and tried to focus on the laughter around her instead of the growing tension she felt toward Ben. They gathered around the dessert table. Kendra cut the cake, and the room filled with cheers. But in the back of Sarah's mind, a question loomed, refusing to leave her. Would she ever find the courage to open up about her past? Or would she remain forever guarded, afraid to let anyone in? Ben's gaze found hers again, intense and searching. At that moment, she realized she was standing at the edge of two worlds. One where she continued to hide from her past, and another that awaited her if she just took a step forward. Would she dare to embrace her truths, even if it meant risking everything again? As the first slice of cake was served, Sarah felt the weight of her decision feel heavier. The real question was whether she could truly face what lay beneath the surface. And with Ben's lingering gaze, the uncertainty felt more real than ever. Weeks passed, and life continued to shift for Sarah like the changing seasons. Her days, as a Nanny to Daisy and Max, unfolded with laughter, but the shadows of her past remained a constant backdrop. The joy she felt with the children felt real, yet the whispers of doubt crept in, reminding her of the hurdles still ahead. Despite the warmth of her new family, she struggled so fiercely to believe in her own worth. But one afternoon, everything changed. It was a golden day, the sun spilling its warmth over the backyard where Daisy and Max were busy with their crayons, coloring a giant banner for a neighborhood block party. Sarah sat cross-legged nearby, sipping lemonade when a sudden sound caught her attention, a low, rumbling thunder. It was an approaching storm, a reminder that life was often unpredictable. Sarah, can you help me with this? Daisy called, holding up her drawing of a princess, her eyes alight with excitement. Of course. What do you have in mind? Sarah replied, a smile breaking through her thoughtful expression, her heart warming at the sight of the girl's enthusiasm. But then something shifted. In the distance, she spotted a familiar figure approaching down the street. Ben. The joy of the moment clawed into a memory, her heart tightening at what was rushing toward her. As he walked up, his smile was bright, yet something deeper flickered beneath the surface. Hey, everyone! I thought I'd come by and check on my favorite pirates, he said, kneeling down beside Daisy and Max. Join us. Daisy chirped, pulling him into their colorful world of crayons and laughter. For a moment, she watched them with a mix of yearning and unease. What lay beneath her frayed exterior? Could she open up? Would he still see her as strong? Or simply as the person she used to be? As the afternoon went on, Ben's presence was a pulse of warmth, but Sarah felt the intensity between them hovering, electricity sparking in the air. When they finally found a quiet moment, the playful laughter faded into an uncertain silence, filled with unspoken words soaking in every flicker of emotion. Sarah, Ben began, his voice low and steady. I wanted to tell you, I've missed seeing you around. You look really different. Good different? She countered lightly, her heart pounding. Definitely good. His smile radiated warmth. But I can see that there's more beneath the surface. Sarah swallowed hard, a cocktail of emotions swirling within her. Could he really see how much she was struggling to piece herself together? It's just been a lot, you know, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I get that. I really do, he answered softly, gaze steady. But there's strength in sharing. You don't have to carry it all alone. His words hung in the air, resonating like a forgotten tune beneath the surface. Perhaps he was right. Perhaps this was the moment, a tiny sliver of bravery breaking through her walls. Just as she was about to respond, Daisy bounded over, a wild burst of happiness. Cake's ready. Come on, come on, she squealed, tugging at their hands. The commotion dragged them back into the cheerful chaos around the cake table, sunshine spilling over them. As laughter erupted and cakes were devoured, Sarah felt a flicker of hope reigniting within her. Each moment shared felt like stitching together a patchwork quilt of joy, binding her past with her present. As the fun continued, Sarah's heart swirled with emotion. Her journey had been heavy, tangled with invisible storms. But surrounding her in that moment were laughter, understanding, and maybe, just maybe, a second chance. Finally, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Sarah turned toward Ben. There's something I need to share, she said, her voice trembling slightly, heart racing. I'm listening, he said, earnest anticipation in his eyes. Taking a breath, Sarah felt the weight of everything she'd carried for so long lifting slightly. Slowly, she began to share her story, the job loss, the eviction, her feelings of worthlessness. The words poured out, raw and real, uncoiling the tightly wound knots of fear. I thought I wouldn't be able to find joy again, she confessed, her voice breaking. But you made me believe that maybe it's okay to still be searching. Ben listened intently, his expression warm and encouraging. That's the first step, Sarah. The only way is forward. You've come so far already, he assured her. Tears of relief and gratitude streamed down her cheeks. In sharing her truth, she felt lightness bloom within, like flowers breaking through the cold ground. Each word peeled back walls that kept her from embracing the love and joy around her. Thank you for being here, she breathed, sincerity dancing in her voice. With a radiant smile, Ben reached out and gently took her hand, squeezing it with a sense of comfort. You're never alone, Sarah. You have so much to offer, don't hide it anymore. The two stood there, hands clasped amidst the backdrop of laughter and love, a testament to the journey ahead. As they walked back towards the jubilant chaos of the party, fear no longer clung to her. Instead, hope resided within her core, a promise for brighter days ahead. The love she had nurtured with Daisy, Max, and now Ben was more than enough to keep her anchored. In stepping into her truth, she could finally breathe again, ready to face whatever came next, side by side with those who believed in her. This was just the beginning of her new chapter, a place where joy didn't mean forgetting the past but carrying it like a badge of honor, a reminder of strength, resilience, and the beautiful journey still to come. Now, the call to action stands burning hot. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover these powerful transformations. Comment how you felt about Sarah's journey and what it means to you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need this message of hope and resilience in their lives. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.